My pantry doors have gotten pretty beat up over the years, as you expect, and I decided to repaint them with the leftover paint that I used on my kitchen cabinets. So this morning I took them out of the frame so that I could bring them outside to sand them down a little bit. The easiest way to do that with this kind of hinge is to knock the pegs out of the hinges. There we go. And it was all going great until, of course, Murphy's Law kicked in and there was one that just wasn't gonna budge. What?
That is not annoying at all.
I know, it won't last long. Just give me a minute. This one does not want to come loose. Another quick tip about hinges. Don't use WD-40 to alleviate squeaky hinges. Instead, use silicone lubricant. WD-40 has a lot of great uses, and you may even get some temporary relief from the squeaking. But it also attracts dirt and grime into the hinge, which is just going to make the problem a lot worse over time. It doesn't even have to be this brand, just look for the word silicone lubricant. Damn, that hinge is gonna have to come off. Eventually I ended up taking off all of the hinges anyway to make it easier to sand and paint, but it is easier to put the doors back up with the hinges already attached. More about that later in the video. Something that I noticed a few years ago, I did actually repaint this a little bit, and I don't remember what I used, but I know it was many years ago before I really knew what I was doing. And as I'm sanding, I can see that the paint is sort of rolling off in these little balls, which makes me think that it was probably just a basic latex paint, which of course I'm kicking myself for. So if you have something like this where it's gonna get a lot of heavy usage, use an enamel paint as opposed to a regular latex paint. That's gonna hold up a lot better for you. After I was done sanding, I wiped them down with some TSP, and normally you would mix 2 gallons of water with a half a cup of TSP, but I didn't really need all that much, so I just sort of eyeballed it. Then just make sure that you rinse off or wipe off all of the TSP really well and let them dry before you start painting. Now, generally speaking, if you're repainting something, you don't necessarily have to put on a new coat of primer every time, especially if you're not drastically changing the color. But since I sanded this one down to almost bare wood in a lot of spots, I decided it's probably a good idea to put a new coat of primer on. When I was taking these doors down, I noticed that some of the screws were loose in the holes, so they weren't really doing a whole lot of good. So I'm gonna plug them up using, this is just a bamboo skewer, but you could use toothpicks too, and a little bit of wood putty. And I'm gonna block up the hole and then re-drill the hole later on after it's dry. That way the screw will fit in there a little bit tighter. Now, I had mentioned earlier in this video that it's a lot easier to put the door up if the hinge is dismantled as opposed to doing the whole hinge. And that's because when you put it back up this way, you just line up the hinges together and you tap the bolt into it and you're done. If you attach the entire hinge and you're trying to line the screw holes up exactly while holding the door, that's a pretty difficult thing to do. Hold it straight already.
I'm trying.
But I do still have this one, which no matter what I did, the damn thing would just not come out. Ugh, nope. Holy crap. So I am gonna have to attach this one as a whole. We all need a little bit of lube every once in a while. Blaster silicone lubricant. Working it like a pro since 1957. Oh yeah. Highly concentrated with more silicone. I guess if you're gonna go for silicone, you might as well go for more silicone. I gotta come up with a video where I can use lube and caulk at the same time.